Well, it's been a busy weekend in Washington with talks of the budget and tax reform, but the biggest headlines of the weekend come from Alabama with the campaign for a new U.S. Senator. Dr. Lee Hanna, professor of political science, is joining me this morning. I first want to start, we are going to get to the Roy Moore discussion, but I first want to start because this kind of came out overnight. Vice President Mike Pence is heading to the Middle East. The Palestinian president and prime minister have said they refuse to meet with U.S. officials. This obviously comes out of what Trump announced last week, with the U.S. now recognizing Jerusalem as the capital. What are the implications of this?
Yeah, so, I mean, many did predict that there would be some kind of fallout related to that decision. And it's a decision that's been promised, especially by Republicans, for years. But normally they hold off because of that uncertainty. And so the Trump administration has moved forward. And, you know, I think it's still a bit too early to know to what extent will the allied countries in the Arab world, you know, stand behind Palestine and try to pressure the U.S. as well, or to what extent will they maybe be kind of left hanging out there and maybe not have the leverage that they hope. So a lot of this is still to be determined, but not too surprising that they would snub Vice President Pence and as a kind of a retaliation for last week's announcement. And
kind of moving on to the Roy Moore stuff, obviously he's been accused of sexual misconduct from several women. The vote or the race is tomorrow. Could the actual, you know, and he's actually winning in a lot of the polls, but are they seen them not be so reliable in the past?
Yeah, so state polling is more difficult than nationwide polling because so much comes down to turnout. And so when pollsters are calling, they're trying to determine, is this person really a likely voter? Am I actually talking to a voter or just someone who isn't registered, someone who doesn't vote historically, etc.? And so that does make this very challenging. But the nationalized nature of this, the fact that everyone is talking about it, makes me think that turnout will be a bit higher. That benefits the Democrats. However, this is still really close. You know, every poll still has more with a slight lead. So, so Doug Jones would need to have high turnout, especially in the kind of historically black parts of Alabama.
Do you think, though, with the president now backing Roy Moore, the RNC backing him as well, do you think this could have implications heading into the 2018 GOP primaries next year?
Absolutely. I mean, I will be curious to see if Roy Moore does win, how the Senate embraces him or pushes him away. But certainly this can be something that the Democrats can use as a talking point to try to campaign on. And it also has implications because you know, this is to replace Jeff Sessions' seat. So whoever wins the special election is in office until 2020. So if there's a Democrat in this like always safe Republican-based state until 2020, then that's going to really affect votes down the road, especially if the Democrats turn some seats around in 2018.
And Lee, really quickly, I know just one last question: tax reform and the budget. Those are the big talkers. Obviously, the budget, they just kind of kicked the can down to the road to December 22nd. But can we actually see some sort of an agreement on both by the end of the year?
I mean, I think they're going to have to do something to continue this funding. And the Democrats have some leverage on the Dreamer Act, or on the Dreamers at this point, to try to get that extended. And even the Chamber of Commerce, a historically conservative organization, has come in and endorsed some type of stopgap for that program, saying that their businesses would be really hurt if we just kind of overnight change that. So that will be an interesting thing. I think in the next few weeks you're going to hear a lot about DACA, and then just with the Republicans trying to get their tax plan through, they may have to give a little bit on this future appropriation bill
to get something. All right. Well, Dr. Lee Hanna from Wright State University, professor of political science. I'm so sorry. It's Monday. I apologize.
Oh, no problem.
Greg, we're going to send it over to you for a check of the forecast.